I am Harry George Johns, owner, proprietor, chef, maestro of Holy Mountain Kitchen. I got into cooking late, in my late 20s, and was lucky enough to have a friend who was in fine dining. So I moved to the Wirral and did that for a few years. Then I cooked in Mexico for a bit, because my head chef was from Mexico. And then in the pandemic, I started trying to think outside the box of stuff to do, and did like some private dining bits. And then after the pandemic finished, I think I kind of felt like I wanted something a bit more like stable maybe, so I got in touch with Spark and they said they needed a burger person, and I thought, well, I'll give it a go. No, I think the pandemic made people in my industry rethink about how they want to approach their jobs. So like people who are maybe older and more fed up with cooking, like chefs and stuff who are fed up with working 8 hours a week, probably came out of the pandemic because their restaurants closed, thinking, well, I might just go do something else. And I think that the people who maybe were younger and had a bit more of a fire in their belly were like, I can't wait for the pandemic to be over, let's get it. And I think I'm in the latter category. The food I make is varied because I still do pop-ups and private dining around the country. So the food I make generally, Holy Mountain Kitchen, is sort of like taking a fine dining approach to junk food, because I'm from that world, but I like eating sort of just normal food that we all like, fried chicken and burgers and stuff, but I try and put that kind of mindset into it. And then the burger thing really was just they needed a burger person, and I thought, well, if I'm going to do burgers, then I'm going to make them as good as I can. And so, you know, we pick our own pickles and like make sure the bread's sourced and the meat's sourced correctly, and like we think about balance and all that kind of stuff. So it's not just throwing 4 things in a sandwich. For me, it's sort of thinking about how things work, and that reminds me of the things that I learned when I did my fine dining thing, you know? So burgers, but good. We source the meat locally. I live in Leeds, so I commute every day, and it was important to use products as close to where we are geographically as possible, you know. So did a lot of research and with meat and farms and who can get what, how to source everything organically and correctly. Excuse me. And the bread is local from Haxby, so that was important. Well, specifically with burgers at Spark, I think I really relish in trying to think of different specials and like different, like everyone's had a burger before, right? So it's my job to try and make people maybe try something that they wouldn't normally do. So I've had specials where I've made like a Chinese chili oil and you know, I've put like mac and cheese in a cheeseburger once because I was an idiot, and I think that's really good fun. I really like taking this extremely simple, well-known thing that we've all had and then trying to be like, oh, I've had a cheeseburger, but that sounds interesting, is what I want people to think when they read the menu. I mean, what I miss about the freelance chef fine dining pop-up thing, what I miss about that is that you tend to have an incredibly busy 1 or 2 days, long, hard days, and then you have like 2-3 days afterwards to just unwind and then think of the next thing you're going to do. Whereas in Spark, it's important for us all to be open and operating at a certain time of day and night, and that sort of doesn't change. I don't dictate that, Spark does, so we are closed on a Monday and open the rest of the time. And also what's important is that, like, it sounds simple, but like I have all the things on the menu available for customers, you know, things like that. And maybe the pickles aren't done yet, and I have to figure that out. And like, you know, maybe your bread delivery hasn't turned up, so I've got to sort of pivot with that. But I'd say that's the main difference, is there has to be a degree of uniformity to being inspired for the customer's sake, and I understand that, and I think that both worlds operate separately, you know, and I like both of them. I honestly think that people should try the cheeseburgers, not just so I can like buy food and pay rent, but also because there's a lot more sort of thought put into them. Oh, I don't want to say more thought put into them than someone else doing burgers necessarily, but like we pride ourselves in making, you know, as much of the product ourselves, and with like daily changing specials, I think there's always a reason to sort of come back and like see what we're doing. And even like tonight, I'm gonna put nachos on, and I've made like a bacon and cheese sauce to put on it, and I'm excited to put that on the menu. So there's always something different whenever you come to Holy Mountain. But we do essentially just sell cheeseburgers, so that's probably the most popular thing. But they're, you know, they're good.